What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my predictions for UFC Fight Night Błachowicz versus Souza. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Vanessa Mello versus Tracy Cortez. And to me, I think they're just trying to set up an easy win for Tracy. I think that Mello's just mediocre at best. I think Tracy's better everywhere, striking, grappling, and wrestling. There's not too much to say about this fight. Like I said, I just think they're trying to toss up an easy win for Cortez because she was on the Dana White looking for a fight thing. So yeah, I got her winning by decision. Next is Ariana Lisby versus Veronica Masendo. And to me, I think there's a huge advantage for Lisby on the feet and big advantage for Veronica on the ground. It kind of just depends who gets it where. And I'm just leaning towards Ariana. I think that her takedown defense is good enough to where she can keep it on the feet. And like I said, I think on the feet she's got the much better striking. I don't think she'll get a finish, but I do think she's going to edge out at least 2 of the 3 rounds, probably all 3. So I got Ariana winning by decision. Next is Douglas Silva versus Renan Barão. And to me, Renan Barão's just been looking worse and worse. His last 3 fights were fights that he really should have won. He was fighting guys that, 3 years ago he would have destroyed those dudes. But now he's just losing to less and less talented guys. And now they're actually giving him somebody who I think is way better than the last 3 guys he fought. I think the first round will be competitive, but then I think, like Renan Barão's last 3 fights, I think once the second round starts, he's going to start to gas really bad. I think that Douglas Silva is basically just a striker, but he has really good takedown defense and he keeps a high pace and he does have good power. I feel like I said, I think the first round they'll be striking back and forth. Barão might take him down, but I don't think he'll be able to hold him down. And then I think come the second, we'll see Barão start to gas really bad and Douglas is just going to start lighting him up and I think he's eventually going to win by knockout. Next we got Warley Alvarez versus Randy Brown. And to me, this is kind of just how much better has Warley gotten, because I do think his skills are better than Randy's skills. It's just a conditioning thing and keeping the pace, because if he can keep a good pace, then he should be able to win this fight. I feel like he's the better overall fighter, like I said, striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. It's just gassing. As long as Warley doesn't gas, I think he should be able to win at least 2 of the 3 rounds in this fight. Next is Francisco Trinaldo versus Bobby Green, and my biggest fear with Bobby Green is just that he basically retired, he hasn't fought in a while, and he wasn't looking super amazing before he left. I feel like Francisco Trinaldo, on the other hand, has been looking really good. Even though he's been alternating wins and losses, I thought he won his last fight. I feel like he should be on like a 4-1 type of thing in his last 5, but he's coming off a loss in a fight that I thought he pretty clearly won. Either way, I think that, Bobby Green, this is basically just going to be a striking fight between these 2 dudes. And it all depends on how Bobby Green looks after the layoff. And just because he is coming off a long layoff, it's hard for me to pick him. I'm going with Trinaldo mainly just because he's been more active. And I feel like he's been fighting top 15 guys and been looking really good. So I'm going to say Trinaldo wins either decision or by knockout. Next is Ricardo Ramos versus Luis. I can't say this dude's last name, but to me, I feel like Luis is just this mediocre dude who has a pretty padded record. He's 13-0, but most of the dudes he fought weren't that great. In his UFC debut, he fought somebody that wasn't that great either, and he just looked okay against him. Ricardo Ramos, to me, is really, really good. He's 4-1 in the UFC. He's like 13-2 overall. He's got great striking, great jiu-jitsu, and he's got good wrestling, offensive and defensively. I just feel like these 2 guys are similar, but Ricardo Ramos is just better at all 3 things. Neither of these guys have cardio issues, so I just think Ricardo's going to beat this dude, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. I don't know how, but I think he's just going to get a finish either in the first or second round. Next is Sergio Moraes versus James Krause. And to me, this fight makes no sense. Sergio Moraes is coming off of back-to-back losses, and they were against guys that fight pretty similarly to James. Like, the guys he fought had better leg kicks, but other than that, I think James' striking and overall takedown defense and ability to grapple on the ground is good enough to make it where Sergio's not going to be able to do much against him. Like I said, the only advantage, the 2 guys that Sergio lost to in his last 2 fights, I think it was Warley Alvarez and Tony Martin. Those dudes just have better leg kicks. Other than that one specific thing, the 3 guys all have pretty similar styles, you know what I mean? They all have good jiu-jitsu, good takedown defense, and good striking. I think James is going to keep it on the feet and just outbox Sergio Moraes for 3 rounds. I just think he's the way better striker and way better overall grappler when it comes to like takedown defense and shit like that. Like, if Sergio's on top, he could submit him, but I think James is good enough to survive on the bottom, even if it does get there. On to the main card, the first fight is Marcus Perez versus Wellington Truman. And to me, Truman really impressed me in his debut. I thought he was going to get run through pretty easily, but I thought he won, in all honesty. I think he fights like Marcus Perez, just a little bit more technical. He's really good striking and jiu-jitsu. He's good at taking the fight anywhere, and he's active in any area, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. To me, I just like Perez more. I feel like he's more creative. I do think these guys are very similar style-wise. Like I said, Wellington's probably just a little bit more clean with his technique, but they're both pretty similar in the sense that they're good at landing strikes, they're good at continuously hunting for submissions and working the whole time. They both have good conditioning. They do get a little bit tired, but that's just because they have a high work weight. It's not because they have bad cardio. But like I said, I just like Perez. I think he does have a little bit more punching power, and I do think he's a little bit more creative, so I think he's going to either edge out a decision or get a really late finish in the third. Next is Antonio Arroyo versus Andrew Muniz, and I kind of get these two names mixed up. I'm sorry about that, but I'm pretty sure Andre Muniz was the one on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He's won like a bunch of fights in a row. He's like 18-3 or 18-4. These guys have pretty similar styles, but I like Muniz more. I think his striking and jiu-jitsu are just better. These two guys are both really early in their career, so it's hard to tell who's better. I'm just going with Muniz. I'm just sorry there's not a lot to go off of with either of these guys, but yeah, I think he looks better overall. Next is Charles Oliveira versus Jared Gordon, and to me this fight makes no sense. I mean, Charles Oliveira's won like 5 straight. He's gone like 6-1 since he moved back up to lightweight. And I mean, the fight against Paul Felder was a fight he was dominating. He just couldn't get the choke right, and then he gassed himself out going for it too hard. You know what I mean? If he had the choke right, he'd be on like a 7-fight win streak. And even without that, he's still on a 5-fight win streak. Jared Gordon just, you know what I mean? He's like 3-2 in the UFC. He lost 2 in a row and just won his last fight against a mediocre dude. To me, this fight makes no sense. I think Charles Oliveira should be fighting top 15 dudes at this point. I think that these two guys have similar styles. They're both striker jiu-jitsu dudes, but I just think Charles Oliveira is better at both. I think Jared Quinier might have a little bit better conditioning, but I really don't think it matters. I think Charles can outstrike this guy on the feet and out-grapple him on the ground. And I think Charles is going to either win by knockout or submission probably in the first or second round. Next is Shogun Rua versus Paul Craig. And props to Paul Craig for taking this fight on short notice. He definitely has a real possibility of winning this fight. If he can get it to the ground, his jiu-jitsu is definitely good enough to win by submission. Shogun has been submitted before against really good black belts, and Paul Craig is a really good black belt when he's on the ground with people. I mean, I don't know if he will be able to get to the ground. I think Shogun has a massive advantage in the striking. And as long as he doesn't walk into like a head kick, I think Shogun can kind of just do what the black dude, I can't remember his name. Well, there were two black dudes that both knocked out Paul Craig, and I'm forgetting their names right now, but I think that if he just implies what they did and just kind of lets Paul Craig wear himself out by throwing kicks and shooting for takedowns and then just hitting him with shots as he's being wild, I think Shogun should be able to win this fight by knockout pretty easily. As long as he doesn't get like taken down and get his back taken, I think Shogun's just such a better striker and has good enough takedown defense where he can just light Paul Craig up as he's going for takedowns and shit like that. Finally, we got Jan Błachowicz versus Jacare Souza. And to me, Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman, and Jacare, they were all middleweights that moved up to light heavyweight. And I know Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos moved up and were really successful, but the difference is those guys were still kind of, I know they're old, but they're young in their MMA careers, kind of. Not Anthony Smith, but, you know, what's his face? I just said his name, the Brazilian dude. In their MMA careers, they're kind of young. I feel like, you know, these guys have been getting knocked out. And Jacare, even though he hasn't been knocked out, he's a really small light heavyweight. I mean, of those 4 or 5 guys I just said, I think he's smaller than all 4 of those dudes I said. He's a very natural middleweight, in my opinion. I remember when he fought Gegard, he looked a lot smaller than Gegard. And Gegard's fought in middleweight most of his career, too. He's fought light heavyweight, but he's only a medium-sized light heavyweight. I feel like Jan, on the opposite hand, is a very natural 205er. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be a huge size advantage for him in this fight. To me, Luke, of those 3 guys I just said, Luke, Chris, and Jacare, I thought he would have the most success at light heavyweight because he was the biggest of the 3. But even he had a really hard time taking down Jan and just controlling him on the ground. I think Jan's takedown defense and ability to get back up have definitely gotten much better. And if you look at Jacare, 3 of his last like 5 or 6 losses, you know, I'm not counting the Kelvin because I thought he won the Kelvin fight, but I'm talking about the Swedish dude, Robert Whittaker, and what the hell was the other one? There was another really good technical kickboxer, and I feel like guys with better technical kickboxing that are really hard to take down are kind of Jacare's kryptonite. I feel like the guys who just have really good technical kickboxing and he can't just smother and take down, he really has a hard time beating. And like I said, Jan's going to be way bigger and way stronger than Jacare. I think that Jacare is not going to be able to take him down, and I think Jan's just going to eventually land a head kick and win by knockout. I think it's probably going to be in the second or third round because I do think moving up the weight will help Jacare with his durability and conditioning a little bit, but like I said, I think overall striking power and overall striking technique, Jan's got a big advantage in both. And I think this fight's going to be a lot like the Luke Rockhold fight. I think Jacare will have his moments here and there, but I think eventually Jan's just going to knock him out. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.